I detailed the first touchdown run that I had. It was called 46 Steps, I believe it was. But it's every step. I'm talking about it's cool. It's a cool book, I thought. But at the end of that book, I started talking about a relationship that I didn't have, and that's a relationship with my father. And I know at some point I needed to. This was back in 2007. So here we are, 8 years later, and I'll tell you the brief genesis of why this relationship was important to me. So I have 5 kids, 4 of them with my first wife and 1 with my second wife. My second wife is all about family. She is an only child, but she has 3 siblings, half brothers and sisters. And so family, who she's close with. So family has always been important with her. So when we got pregnant with my 5th girl, Brooklyn, who's adorable, and the apple of my eye, every time she says anything to me, it's like, oh, Brooklyn, oh. And she was in the studio the other day. Samter wouldn't leave her alone, trying to get it,
Cutest kid on the planet.
trying to get her to like you. But she did like you. She ended up saying Samter when I was taking her home before she fell asleep. But anyways, when my baby was born, my wife sent my father a birthday card or a Christmas card, and it was I didn't know, and about I don't know 2 months later, she comes to me and she's like, "You're gonna be so mad at me." I'm like, "What do you mean I'm gonna be mad? What did you do?" Like, don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me. And so she told me she sent a card to my father, and she thought I was going to be upset because I have not had a relationship with him ever. I met him a couple of times when I was young. He came to a wrestling match when I think I was in 7th grade or something. I saw him briefly at the end of my college career because my last game in college was before the bowl game, was against Virginia Tech, his alma mater, where he was a football star there. And I didn't know what to say to him. It was just odd. I was at that 18-year-old awkward, emotion age. I mean, a 21-year-old awkward emotion age where you feel like you're grown up but you don't have a clue of what life is really about. And so when someone tries to step back into it, it's kind of like, I don't want to deal. And so I didn't deal for a long, long, long time. Well, eventually, my wife and I started making plans for him to come see us. And think about this. It's been almost 38 years. I haven't had a relationship with him. And then back then, I don't even remember the relationship I had with him because I was 2 years old before my mom and dad were divorced. And so a couple weeks ago, he shows up, and he's going to stay in the city. And it's like I live in Florham Park. I'm like 30 miles away from there. It's really not conducive to, getting to know one another. And so Tracy and I talked about it, and he ended up coming to stay with us. So a man that I haven't seen in a long, long time ends up staying in my house. And I have all my kids, right? So I'm divorced. My kids live up in Greenwich, but I have all my kids that weekend. So I walk in, and here's this man standing there. Looks a little bit like me. Obviously, he's older, 63 now. And I kind of, I don't know what to say. It's weird. It's like you're looking at the guy who sired you, but you don't know what to say. And thankfully, the filter of my kids helped me come out of it, and we just started talking. And I heard the story, like the story, the journey that he went on, how he was lost. I mean, he was in the woods for years with drugs and alcohol, and he finally got saved by a woman who got him back into church, and she's Indian, not American Indian, but Indian. And now he's a professor at Oral Roberts, and he's an ordained minister, and he's got 2 kids, a half brother I have and a half sister, who have had this longing, this years-long desire to get in touch with us. And it was like this ridiculous flood of emotion. And as I started to think back on my professional career and some of the things choices that I made in my life, and I wonder, like, if I had a relationship with my father, would have been different. If my football career had gone a different way, would have been an asset. And so when I think about fathers and the importance that they have on athletes, particularly because we're talking about Russell Wilson in this Rolling Stone article that details his relationship with his father and how important he was to him. Robert Griffin III, who I don't know what his relationship is with his father because it hasn't been detailed, but I wonder where it comes in. And another guy who obviously had a great relationship with his father and led to him becoming a superstar in college and one of the budding superstars in the National Football League. Talking about Oliver Luck and his son Andrew Luck, who played in the NFL. Oliver did, and so did obviously Andrew does now as well. I wonder sometimes if that role in your life is not the most important role when you're an athlete, and if you don't have it, do you get caught into these missteps that ultimately derail your career and then can potentially derail your life?